Welcome. You're listening to the Young Changemakers podcast. In these episodes, your co-hosts Sarah, George, and Anastasia will be talking to passionate young individuals from around the world to explore how they are making lasting impact in their local communities. So cozy up, listen in, because inspiring stories are waiting to be heard and power lies within youth.
So hello everyone, and thanks for joining us on our third season of the Young Changemakers podcast. Today I'm going to have a call with Sarta, and we're going to discuss a bit more about the guests we've had for this season. However, I'd just like to say thanks for keeping patient, and we apologise for the delay in releasing our third season, but I think we were all caught up a bit in the global pandemic, but we're all ready to go, and we hope you're as eager as we are to tune in and share the amazing stories of some of the young change makers that are out there doing incredible stuff and really, working passionately on projects that mean a lot to them. So today I'm joined by Sarta, who is a co-host of the Young Changemakers podcast, and if you tuned in to our last season, we had a conversation with her as a guest on one of our episodes. But today we're just going to talk a bit more about our conversations that we've had with some of the upcoming guests for season 3. So Sarah, first of all, how's your episodes gone, and how's it been being a new host of the Young Changemakers podcast?
Hi, George, and hi, everyone. I'm very, very excited. Firstly, because this is the first season that we're going to have episodes in Spanish. And I feel like that's something that I feel very proud of. Very, very exciting to be giving people information and content in their own language. So that's really cool. And I have really enjoyed this space. I feel like every conversation has been eye-opening, and we had a short conversation before we started recording, talking about how we were very inspired by the conversations. So I think this particular season was very exciting, and I'm so happy, and I can't wait for everyone to listen to all the episodes. How have you been feeling about this season and the guests that you've interviewed?
Look, I've had such a diverse range of guests again, and it honed in like during such a difficult year as well. Like I'm based in Australia, but a lot of what we're seeing, the issues faced, it reminds me that like that our issues are global, but we need to act locally, but also have that global mindset. So when I speak to some of these guests, I've spoken to Niall from Kakuma refugee camp, another friend of mine from Kenya working on food security, and then a fellow Aussie here, Raphy, who's doing social enterprise in Australia. I mean, they're all tackling their own, doing their own projects on issues that are important to them, but they've got a broader vision of, whether they're trying to target the sustainable development goals. So that's been really good for me, is keeping connected during a pandemic with people from all over the world. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think touching on something that you said earlier, it is so easy to think about, the issues that we're going through, the things that have been happening locally, but sometimes we miss on that global perspective on how things are connected, and not only things, but issues are connected. And through this year, we've seen how connected we are because of the pandemic, really. But I feel like that has been such a learning. I also had very diverse group of people, even though they are all located in Latin America. Located or from Latin America, because I have one guest, Guillermo, who is currently in the US. but they all have that that Latin American upbringing, but from such different perspectives. So yeah, I just wanted to comment on that thing that you said about connectivity and thinking globally but acting locally.
Mm. So, Sarah, what was some of your most enjoyable conversations, and would you mind going into giving everyone out there a bit of a snippet into what those episodes will be like and who you chatted with?
I think that would be a little hard to pick on favorites because they were all so great. So as I mentioned before, I talked to Guillermo Herrera. He's a scientist, an engineer, and is working in the health and technology sector. Super fun guy, super smart, really easy to talk to. I also talked to Laura Sarta from Colombia, from Bogota. She mixes the sort of the awareness on climate change and sustainability with art, which I found so, and talking again about connections and how things are connected. And it was a really amazing opportunity. She works a lot on educating people about sustainability and of course climate change and so on. Uh, so I really got to learn a lot about that and her work. I also talked. I'm sorry, I am currently in Mexico City, and this sort of things happen, and ambulances come up. Also, something that I realized is that as more people are working from home, there's a lot of more noises and things going on. So we'll have to just work through them. I also interviewed, and that is something that I think that was very fun. I talked to David. David is from Paraguay, and he works on sort of transparency, but in the eyes of let's tackle corruption, right? And he talked about the story of GCM as well, because he went to a summit. I think it was in 2009. I have to make sure that is right, but he and also Laura, they're from younger generations or older generations, I don't know how to put it, but from different generations that have still been in contact, and they sort of talk about this connectivity. And also from a younger generation, from a most recent one, I talked to Maria, and she has a really amazing project of taking STEM to women and to girls, which I thought it was really incredible as well. So yeah, it was a very diverse group. I don't know if you want to talk also about a little bit about each of the interviews that you did.
Yeah, sure. I can go into a bit more, but those all sound really exciting, and I'm just disappointed that my Spanish, because they've all been recorded in Spanish. So I did start learning Spanish a couple of years ago, but it's not up to scratch to be able to understand.
That's a good reason to practice and to learn more.
Of course. So yeah, I've had some really great conversations as well. The first one I did was with Darcy, who's a fellow Australian based in Sydney. And Darcy runs Pure Coffee, which is a social enterprise, and they source coffee from the Mount Elgon region in Uganda. And what's really cool about Darcy's story is that, you know, he went over to Uganda in like as a part of a university field trip. And he identified a problem there on the ground was that the smallholder farmers weren't being, looked after as well as they should have, and they weren't receiving, sustainable prices for their coffee. So he really got together with some of his fellow students, and they identified that there's a potential market to sell that coffee to conscious consumers in Sydney, because here in Australia we're absolutely coffee fiends, and we really drink a lot of coffee. So yeah, identified an opportunity to use coffee as a means of creating more sustainable impact for those smallholder farmers in Mount Elgon. And Pure's really gone from leaps and bounds to becoming quite a really well-known social enterprise here in Australia. And Darcy also mentioned, he talked a fair bit about the sort of character and mindset and resilience he's developed after going on this journey of entrepreneurship, because it hasn't been linear and he's faced a lot of different challenges, and there's been at times where he really just was exhausted by the lack of progress, but he's really pushed through those challenges, and now he's got a strong community there in Sydney and across Australia who really believe in what he's doing and are supporting him. So that was really a few really good lessons taken from that conversation. And the last call I had was with Niall Deng, who's a South Sudanese and Ethiopian-born refugee who's living in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya. And Niall's got a very, he's had lived experiences being exposed to violence and armed conflict at a young age, and he fled Ethiopia at the age of 11. And he went through a very difficult journey over 2 weeks, walking through a forest and trekking through remote country to get down to a refugee camp, which he had no idea where it was. And at a young age, he was very distressed. So he's taking those lived experiences and really pushing towards, helping young people in Kakuma to access education and develop, more inclusive and secure, sustainable communities. And he's just a really genuine guy and really determined to create local solutions to some of the global problems that we're facing. So I think that was a really, really engaging conversation, and I encourage everyone to look out for that one. Another cool project he's a part of is this thing called Sky School. I think they're based in, it's a UK charity, but they organise online education for refugees. So he's helped refugees access education through the Sky School there in Kakuma. He's just super empowering and inspiring, and he's done a lot of great work with youth in Kakuma. So I won't give any more information away on that, but definitely look out for that conversation. And then finally, I had a good chat with a friend of mine who I worked with on our farm in Kenya. And Celista, she's a really driven and young, energetic woman, passionate about sustainable agriculture and farming. And she's really brought in her personal belief that, in order to create more resilient and sustainable food systems, it starts at dealing with youth, educating young people and getting them to understand the importance of, good food stuff with healthy soils, and healthy soils, can transition into better nutrition and, ultimately better livelihoods for people who don't have access to adequate food and nutrition. And going back to the sense of community that the Global Changemakers build is that I've managed to connect her with Maureen Museka, who was I forget what year she participated. Do you remember?
I think it was 2018 or 17.
Yeah, so she's a strong advocate for nutrition and in Nairobi there, and she works. Her initiative is called Twelu Vyema, which translates to Let's Eat Right. She does nutrition workshops.
And she was also a guest here in the podcast.
Yeah, I interviewed her. But I've been able to connect both Maureen and Felista now. So on the farm in Kenya, they're working together to do, host workshops for youth in sustainable and regenerative farming practices, whilst also hosting nutrition workshops. So it's really, closing the loop from from production to consumption. So yeah, all been really good conversations and such diversity. I've really enjoyed it, and just looking forward to doing more and more.
I think I'm looking forward to listen to the three of those conversations because, well, I know Niall, not in person, unfortunately, but I've talked to him and I've seen what he's done and the impact that he's had. But I'm looking forward to get to know a little bit more about the story that you were telling. And Darcy, I knew personally with you at the 2019 summit. And I have to tell everyone that George and Darcy have such a great connection and they're actual friends. So I think that should be really, really exciting to just listen to a conversation between friends. And I'm also super excited to learn more about sustainable farming and that connection with Maureen also. I think that's the GCM magic, isn't it? I'm super excited. And I know that you're planning to have in the next few days a conversation with one of my close friends from GCM, Simon Straker. He is a photographer, a filmographer, and a real lover of nature. I was telling George how much of an outdoorsy person he is, and he's so talented at making documentaries, and he works a lot with young people. And he has, I'm not gonna do a lot of spoilers so that you can talk to him and have a nice conversation. But I think that is also someone that I think it would be really nice to listen to. And I think this season has a lot of new things, a lot of new faces. Well, I'm a new face at the podcast. We also have a new music, and hopefully you can learn more about Raphy, another changemaker from 2016. He made our music just for us. He's really talented artist as well, and super cool guy that I'm very much looking forward to talk to him and that everyone gets to know him and his music a lot better. Is there something else you want to discuss about this season? Is there anything that you are looking forward the most about it?
Yeah, I mean, we've carried through such good energy from the last two seasons. And I think personally, during the lockdown and this sort of stuff, people can kind of get stuck in a rut. So I've really enjoyed being able to get on a call with people on the other side of the world doing various projects. And it's such an enjoyable time for me. And I hope as well for the listeners to be able to take yourself out of your own world just for, an hour of the day and put yourself into the shoes of someone else. And I just love podcasts because, just listening to people's voices and their stories, and you can start to empathize and understand, the challenges and the successes they're having. And maybe in some way or another, you can put it into your own day-to-day. So I really do think there's great value in sharing stories and communicating with people from all different walks of life, because that's really how we learn more about ourselves, I think, is understanding others in a way. But that's about it from me.
And
what are you looking forward to, Sarah?
Sorry, before I say that, I'm just gonna mention that sometimes you think that by knowing people that seem very different from you, like, I don't know, if you think about Niall living in Kakuma, that is like, at least it's halfway through the world for me, very far. It seems like a really different experience. But as you get to know people from different backgrounds, different walks of life, as you put it, I think you get to know yourself better, but you also understand that those differences become similarities in a way. So you get to know a person and you find out not how you're different. Of course, you compare yourself and you say, okay, we're different, this or that, but you realize that you have so much in common. And I think that is something that global change makers for me personally has helped me realize, is that even though we are very different, or we seem very different, at the end of the day we're super similar in a lot of things, don't you think?
Definitely, yeah, yeah. Not far from there. Yeah, we all come down to have similar actually perspectives at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And I think about, I don't know, also Guillermo is a scientist. He's really good at math and in those exact sciences, and I'm nothing on those. I'm not as good as he is. Or
Mm,
Maria, who is also really good at those things and wants to create a space where women and young people can feel comfortable with numbers and math and sciences in general. And I think I don't know how I'm gonna talk to them. They might seem, I don't know, it might sound weird, and I try to prepare myself for those talks, but at the end of the day we're all, I want to say young, and I want to say eager, and we are all change makers, and we're all doing something so that we can make our worlds a better place, a world that is more sustainable, fair, inclusive, right? So I
mm,
think I don't know, I'm just looking forward to everyone listening in and letting us know how they connected with the guests, how they thought they were similar, and how they I don't know, saw themselves in the guests that we're bringing, because we're not only talking to highly successful people, and I think that goes back to something that Darcy mentioned about, or you
mm.
mentioned about Darcy, the way that the process is not linear and that you sometimes struggle. I also asked that question to all my guests, saying, that these, like, the success you've had might make people think that it is easy and that is linear and you just go through these steps towards one goal and it's all done, that you struggle, that you go through different things. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I just want people to listen in, to just hear about stories that might make you feel like you belong, like you're similar to another person in the other side of the world.
Definitely. And I think it's a good opportunity now. Like if you're you do come across a guest and maybe they're working on a project similar to you, or you would like to start to
Hmm.
do something what they're doing, definitely reach out to them and have conversations with and
Yeah.
try and access our community, because we're all open minded and resourceful, and
Mm,
that's what the global change makers community is about. So
definitely.
yeah,
And
and
if not, you can reach out to us. You already have our information, and you can send us an email asking us to connect to one of our guests, and we can definitely set it up for you.
mhm. All right, terrific, Sarah. Well, I'm really looking forward to launching season 3 of the Young Change Makers podcast, and yeah, I thank everyone for tuning in again this season, and we look forward to sharing more and more engaging and inspiring conversations throughout the year.
Definitely hope to listen to you guys soon.
Okay, everyone, that was a nice little chat with Sarah and George. Now you're here with me, Anastasia, one of the other co hosts for the Young Changemakers podcast. You may have remembered me from the previous season. It's great to be back on board, and honestly, I'm revving to get into the season ahead. For those who don't know me, it is so great to meet you. I know we can't meet in person, but it's great to meet you in this audio form. Short intro on me for those who don't know. I'm an Australian young woman who is based in Singapore. I'm passionate about women empowerment, technology, and digital marketing for good. I currently volunteer with an NGO called the Codet Project, and we focus on empowering minority Muslim women with technology skills to really improve their lives. For my episodes this season for the Young Changemakers podcast, I've been speaking to some incredible, amazing people around the world discussing topics like menstruation, social entrepreneurship, creativity, and the power of community. I wasn't able to join that little discussion with Sarah and George. Time zones are so difficult to align on, but I'm now lucky enough to interview and have a great chat with Raphy, who is the amazing composer of this very background music you've just heard. Here it is again now. So good, isn't it? Thank you so much, Raphy, for getting onto the intro episode for season 3. Are you able to tell a little bit more about the listeners about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. I'm Raphy Hayat. I was a Global Changemakers alumni in 2016. I am still an alumni, yeah.
Proud alumni.
And yeah, exactly. And I'm a music producer. And so for me, it's my passion and my kind of purpose. And I was happy to be approached by you guys for Global Changemakers to make the intro and also to help on some other projects. And yeah, it's been fun. And I've been doing production for 15 years now, since I was a kid. So that's what I do. Yeah.
Love it. No, that's good. That's good. How did you get actually into production? Like, I mean, you're obviously in production, but then you're also in production for like more of this social activist kind of side of things. How did you get into that?
Right. For me, I have a strong kind of drive to do good with what I do. And so even when I was in college, I was making music. We also had kind of social impact projects, such as working for World Environment Day. So I made like a song to help people get interested in World Environment Day and kind of help out. And so for me, when I get, I like doing projects like this to use my skill for good. And I try to do that as much as possible, for sure.
Nice. Love that. I feel like it's, like you can have the talent of, producing something, but then even going further and really giving back to the world and doing good, I think is super awesome and really, really great.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess in terms of, like the actual intro music that you made for us, like we gave you the brief of overall, like making it upbeat and fun. And then you made this great music that will probably play again at the end of the episode. How did you, like, what's your creative process like whenever you get someone, like when someone tells you, hey, like this is what I want, this is what could work, and then you go on and create it?
Yeah, actually I have more experience doing actual artist work. So creating songs and doing jingles is kind of a new thing for me. So when I was approached, I was like, I asked for kind of notes on how to create the song. And at first, like Sara gave me quite some different genres of, like, there's one guitar. It was just nice podcast intros, but one of them was really folky acoustic and one was more hip hop. And so I wasn't really sure where I was going with it. And then when I got a brief, I think it was from you or from someone else who just said, we want a brief. Yeah. We want someone like, we want something that would inspire people to take action. That's when it really hit me. I was like, okay, then we could do something more dancey. We could do something more upbeat, definitely, instead of the hip hop or folky things that I was hearing from the other examples that I was given. And in the beginning, because I feel like you kind of have to try to see what you come up with. That's music, basically. It's not like mathematical, rational, where 1 + 1 is 2 kind of thing. So I actually made one first, which was more funky. And maybe you can even play that one at some point. That would be funny to see, like, the first version.
Maybe we can even play it now.
Yeah, sure. And I was like, that's a fun one, but I didn't feel like it was it.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that then after that, maybe that was the next day, I sat down and I thought, let me try another one. And, that's kind of what you have to do. I feel like with music and with many creative works, you have to sit down and see what comes. And this time the vibe was just there. I feel like I lit the fire with the first track, and then kind of I could just go on that momentum and build upon it. And then when I put some chords down, I was like, okay, this is it. And that was it. Like, it was like dun 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 dun, yes. Something like that. And that was cool, because then I realized, okay, this one is it. And it's funny because sometimes the first one could have worked, and I was like, I was doubtful, but with this one I was like, yeah, this is it. And I feel like it's interesting that sometimes you just have the gut feeling of like, okay, this is it. Yeah. And it was cool when I got the email back when they're saying like, yeah, we agree that one was it. It was cool. It's cool when other people agree with your gut feeling,
Yeah. Like you're vibing on like a same wavelength. It's like, yep, we get each other, we know it. Yeah. Honestly, it's a great beat. Like as soon as we heard it, we knew it was the one. I think the old one that we had used actually for the background at the beginning, it's like some stop music one. So it's great. Exactly. I think like the really great thing about this is that it's come from the GCM community, that you've actually been alumni of Global Changemakers. Now you're contributing back to the podcast, and honestly it's awesome to know, okay, this isn't some random stock music, like this is actually something that has been made in collaboration with us and the team. And
exactly, because music is energy, I think, in the end, and you can tell when the energy is when it's made for something, or when it's made for multiple uses, when it's more stock sounding. And with this as well, like I feel like sound is also branding, and I think it's important that we represent Global Changemakers in the best way possible, in terms of looks and feel, but also in sound. And so I was happy to help with that part of it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Now you'll have however many listeners, I think it's like a couple thousand listeners listening to it, hearing it at the beginning of every episode for this season. If any one of our listeners do want to get in touch with you for production, for audio production, creative, advice, how can they do that, Raphy?
Yeah, so basically, because I do multiple things in audio now, I can help with podcast edits, with jingles, with full song productions. And if anyone wants to reach out, I'd be happy to talk about projects with anyone. And I can be reached at raphyj.com, raphyj.com. Also on Instagram at raphyj. I'm just really happy to help. It was a lot of fun to do it.
No worries. Sounds good. We'll put all of those websites and Instagram links in the show notes of this podcast, probably below, so everyone can be able to check it out. But thank you so much, Raphy, for your time. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Remember to help us create a greater impact by sharing this and encouraging everyone on your social media to take a listen. If you want to reach out, you can contact the hosts via podcast@global-changemakers.net, or feel free to message us on Instagram @globalchangemakers and Twitter @wearegcm. We'll be very happy to talk to you and answer any questions. Remember to follow us and subscribe to this podcast. See you in the next episode. Take care.